Imagine you've just bought into the next so-called revolutionary crypto project, BlockDAG. The marketing looks perfect. Influencers are calling it the next Bitcoin. The company says it's raised over $400 million in its pre-sale. You see screenshots of people mining coins on their phones, and you start to believe you've caught the next wave early. But what happens if all of that starts to crumble? What if BlockDAG doesn't live up to the hype? What if it fails? In this video, we're going deep into what could happen to BDAG holders in the worst case scenario, using evidence, real examples, and the kind of details most people are too afraid to talk about. And by the end, I want you to drop a comment with your honest opinion. Do you believe BlockDAG will survive? Or are we watching another bubble in the making? Type your answer right now before we dive in. What BlockDAG claims to be. Before talking about failure, let's talk about the dream. BlockDAG positions itself as a next-generation blockchain that's supposed to outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum by using a directed acyclic graph, or DAG, structure combined with proof-of-work mining. The official documentation and wiki describe it as a revolutionary model that can process multiple blocks in parallel, reducing bottlenecks and creating what they call the fastest blockchain in the world. According to BlockDAG's own website and Medium posts, the network aims to achieve hundreds of transactions per second with scalability that traditional blockchains could never reach. It also promotes a hybrid mining system, not only through powerful hardware rigs like the X10, X30, and X100 miners, but also through its mobile mining app, the X1. This concept, they claim, democratizes mining by allowing anyone to participate using just a smartphone. On paper, this sounds like a dream come true for small investors who missed out on early Bitcoin mining. There's also the pre-sale success story. Multiple crypto news outlets, including Crypto Economy and The Cryptonomist, reported that BlockDAG raised over $410 million before its official launch, a number that's almost unheard of for a project still in its pre-mainnet phase. So clearly, the hype is real. But when something sounds this perfect, it often hides the cracks beneath the surface. Defining failure. When people hear the word failure, they immediately picture a total collapse, a rug pull, a scam, a token going to zero overnight. But in reality, crypto failures are more complicated. A project doesn't have to disappear completely to destroy investors. Sometimes failure looks like endless delays, shrinking liquidity, or a token that loses 90% of its value but never quite dies. In BlockDAG's case, failure could mean a number of things. It could mean the mainnet never launches as promised. BlockDAG's team originally set their testnet and launch roadmap around June 13, 2025, but sources like Crypto News and Community Telegram discussions show that there were already multiple timeline changes and shifting promises. When a project repeatedly moves its deadlines, that's not always malicious, but it often signals that something behind the scenes isn't going according to plan. And when investors are waiting months on a promise that keeps changing, confidence starts to vanish fast. Another type of failure could be tokenomics collapse. According to BlockDAG's token breakdown on Medium, the total supply sits around 150 billion DAG tokens, with over 30% sold in pre-sale and 50% allocated to mining rewards. That's a huge amount of tokens waiting to hit the market. If the unlock schedules are not handled properly, early pre-sale buyers could easily dump millions or billions of tokens once the token lists on exchanges, creating a massive flood of supply that the demand can't absorb. We've seen this story before. High hype, low utility, sudden unlock, instant crash. Then there's the question of real-world use. Even if the technology is legit, if nobody actually uses it, it dies a slow death. Several industry publications, including the Cryptonomist and the Holy Coins, have pointed out that BlockDAG's actual ecosystem and database are still non-existent. The promise of lightning-fast scalability means nothing if no one's building or transacting on the chain. And if those hardware miners, which were heavily marketed as the backbone of the ecosystem, don't deliver actual profitability, then miners will walk away, leaving the network empty. Finally, there's the scariest kind of failure. The slow rug. No official announcement, no dramatic exit, just silence. Updates stop coming, websites stop being maintained, and the Telegram moderators vanish. This has happened with dozens of highly marketed crypto projects before. You wake up one day and realize the project didn't officially die, but everyone's gone and your investment is worth a fraction of what it used to be. The worst case scenario for holders. Let's imagine this as a timeline, not as a prediction, but as a possibility. You buy BDAG during the pre-sale, excited and confident. You're checking your dashboard daily, watching the claimed miner shipments and updates. Then, as the months pass, the official mainnet launch is delayed. You tell yourself it's normal. Great technology takes time. The marketing continues, but the dates keep shifting. Then finally, the token lists, and it's not what you expected. Instead of launching at 10 times pre-sale value, it opens 40% lower. People start selling immediately, and the price tanks further. You hold on thinking the hardware miners will save it. Maybe when X30 and X100 miners arrive, things will change. But then reports surface on Reddit or X, Twitter, that shipments are delayed or that the mining output isn't close to what was promised. A few influencers start calling it overhyped. Exchanges that were supposed to list BDAG don't confirm anything. The volume dries up. By month 6, your token is 80% down. The company releases a few vague blog posts about building partnerships or upcoming testnets. The official Telegram is full of complaints. People start asking where the money went. The team either goes quiet or keeps repeating, "Stay tuned." By month 9, your tokens are almost illiquid. By the 1-year mark, you realize you're holding bags that you can't even sell without crashing the price further. The miners you bought are now paperweights. That's the worst case scenario. Not because it's the most dramatic, but because it's the most common. Evidence and warning signs. Now, let's be fair, not every ambitious crypto project is a scam. Some start messy and eventually pull through, but there are warning signs that experienced investors always look for. For BlockDAG, several have already shown up. The first is over-marketing. Multiple analysts, including those from the Cryptonomist, have called out the heavy promotional campaigns and influencer partnerships used by BlockDAG before a fully functional mainnet even exists. That's often a red flag. Real blockchains let results speak first. Then there's the transparency issue. An article by the Holy Coins directly asked whether BlockDAG is legit or overhyped, citing a lack of detailed third-party audits and vague token release schedules. Combine that with the massive fundraising numbers, over $410 million collected without a public exchange listing, and you have a situation where too much money is moving with too little clarity. Another warning sign is the unclear communication about token unlocking and mining ROI. The Medium posts and official wiki give broad numbers, but don't show an exact distribution calendar or mining emission rate. In other words, you don't know exactly how much new BDAG will flood the market in its first months. And in crypto, uncertainty like that often ends badly. These points don't guarantee failure, but they show that BDAG is walking a thin line between brilliance and disaster. Every great crypto project has to prove itself through transparency, delivery, and user adoption. Until that happens, all we have are claims, and claims can vanish faster than a bullish tweet. If BlockDAG fails, what does it mean for you? If BlockDAG fails, the impact depends on how you're exposed. If you've invested money in the token, your primary risk is obvious and price collapse. A drop of 70 to 90% would wipe out most small investors. If you bought hardware miners, your risk extends beyond digital losses. Mining rigs like the X100 are physical investments. If BDAG's network doesn't sustain value, those machines become useless and the resale market disappears. Imagine spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on a miner that suddenly has no blockchain to connect to. That's the kind of double loss few investors prepare for. Failure would also affect community trust. Many investors jumped into BDAGing not just for profits, but for the feeling of being early in something revolutionary. When that illusion breaks, the loss isn't just financial, it's emotional. Holders start fighting online, Telegram groups split, and morale dies. Some try to organize community takeovers, while others simply walk away. It's the classic pattern we've seen with failed ICOs and meme projects. Hype, silence, collapse, denial, and finally, disappearance. The real question. The real question isn't whether BlockDAG could fail, not because every crypto project can fail. The real question is how prepared you are if it does. Do you have an exit strategy? Have you set a limit for how much loss you can handle before selling? Are you tracking project updates, mining performance, and community sentiment, or are you just hoping for the best? Many investors fall into the trap of believing that patience equals profit. But in volatile, hype-driven projects, patience can also mean paralysis. If you're holding BDAG, you need to be brutally honest about what would make you walk away. Ask yourself, what would convince you that the project has failed? Is it a price drop, a missed deadline, silence from the team? Write it down and stick to it because emotion kills portfolios faster than bad news. And now I want you to pause the video and type your answer below. Comment, my BDAG exit plan is, and finish the sentence. I'm serious. I'll be featuring the most interesting comments in the next upload, because seeing how the community thinks about risk can tell us a lot about whether BlockDAG will survive or fall. If BlockDAG succeeds, early holders might make life-changing gains, but if it fails, it won't be a sudden crash. It'll be a slow burn, a quiet unraveling that leaves you wondering when it all went wrong. And that's exactly why you must be strategic, not emotional. So, the question I'll leave you with is this. If BAG drops 80% tomorrow, what will you do? Hold, sell, or hope? Comment below with your honest answer, because in crypto, the ones who survive aren't the ones who believe the loudest. They're the ones who prepare the smartest.